Now, the Olivier, Tony and Grammy Award-winning Best Musical Jersey Boys is back in Ireland following its successful run at the Bord Gáis last year. And that the show's about the remarkable true story of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons and their rise to stardom from the wrong side of the tracks. This morning we're joined by the stars of the show, Matt Corner, Sam Faraday, Lewis Griffiths and Stephen Webb. Good morning to you guys. Before we chat to them, let's have a look at what we can expect from the show. Now, the last good morning to you guys, and you're very welcome to the show. The last time you were in, three of yous were you, Matt, this is your first time to play the part in Dublin, but I loved the show. I really loved it, and I didn't know what to expect going to it. So for people who may not like me, didn't know what to expect, tell us a little about the show.
Well, you know, it's a story about four guys from the wrong side of the tracks, you know, a real blue-collar story. These guys grew up in Jersey, you know, in the 50s. And it's really about their rise to fame and stardom. But along the way, you know, it's not all great, is it? I mean, they come under hardships and heartache.
Yeah, these guys are not the squeaky clean guys that you normally get as a boy band.
This is Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
Yeah.
People will know the name Frankie Valli, but he's still going. He was only doing a concert here last year. But it's where they come from, and then the whole thing, prison, like they were prison.
Well, these guys were 10 years in prison.
They were heavily involved with the mafia.
Yeah.
I think at the time when they started, they were on welfare. So a lot of the time to fund their ambition and the band was with the mafia, and they get, during the course of the story, they get into an awful lot of debt.
And of course they did become hugely famous. I mean, they, like, the songs, just give us some of the songs.
Well, you got Sherry, you got Walk Like a Man, you got Begging, Can't Take My Eyes Off You, December 63, Oh What a Night.
Like anybody, like everybody would know.
You don't need to be a
It
Four
was
Seasons
just
fan to
one.
know
That's
them
what I think
songs.
what I loved about it, and I wasn't expecting it, because sometimes you go to a musical and you don't know any of the songs, and you're sitting there going, "Oh God, isn't it?" But it was literally, it was like the hit parade. It was one after the other, after the other, after the other.
It's great as well because it really transcends, you know, the generation gap. You know, they've got people in the audience who heard these songs when they were released originally on records, you know, buying these records from record shops, taking them home, listening to the songs for the first time. And you've got, you know, young people coming along to the show who, of course, far too young to remember them first time round, but it's a whole new audience as well. And I think...
But the songs have been released on ads now and different things like that throughout the years, so and different versions.
artists as well.
Yeah, and through different artists as well. And so that's where... Now, Matt, I mean, Frankie Valli has such a distinctive voice, like we're not going to ask you to this morning, but that falsetto, like, because he really is. Have any of you seen him in concert, or have any of you seen him?
We met him.
You've met him. Oh,
Yeah.
where big did he obviously came to one of the shows or
So
something?
he was doing, as he did in Dublin last year, he was in Manchester while the tour was in Liverpool. So they shipped the tour seasons, as we're quite lovingly known as, over to Manchester to meet the man himself.
And
Quite humbling.
He
It was
approved.
really,
did he approve?
It's funny because obviously he was talking about his life story, and we do it every night on stage. Like, we know that.
We know, as he was telling you again, we're doing this 7 times a week. We know probably
Frankie,
know it better than you. You know, and I mean, Sam, because it was Bob who
That's right.
initiated. You were playing Bob in the show, and he's the one who initiated all this and got the whole thing going.
Absolutely. I mean, I sometimes say as a joke, it's not until Bob comes in to the story, you know, that it actually all starts kicking off, because that's when you get Sherry, Big Girls Don't Cry and Walk Like a Man, what we like to call the big three. But also myself and Matt, you know, we both have actually met Bob as well. You've sung for Bob, haven't you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I met Frankie when I went to see his show in Glasgow, and went backstage with him for sort of 25 minutes in his dressing room, which was the most surreal thing ever. To say, I'm playing you.
I'm playing you,
Shake his hand, and he gave me
That
some...
must be surreal to just go to somebody like, I'm playing you.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and he gave me some brilliant, you know, insight and stories, and you know, which I can't repeat on Morley to you, but you know, he's a real Jersey guy. But no, Bob, I have to sing for. Anyone who plays Frankie has to be sort of okayed, if you like, by Bob and Frankie. So I sang all the songs
Really?
for Bob, yeah.
Wow.
From a recording studio, like straight through to his
So
studio.
is this on every tour and every time it
Anyone
opens
who's-
somewhere he has to okay it?
Anyone who's been cast as the part of Frankie Valli in Jersey Boys over the years it's been on has to sing the songs for him. Which
So
was
not just the
daunting.
director in the whatever city, it's basically it goes to the top man.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, and daunting to say the least, but an amazing experience. I mean, singing the song for the guy who wrote it, who said, well, when I wrote this, actually,
Yeah, I didn't
remember
mean it to sound like that, or you could do this
Yeah,
with it and
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. I mean, what an insight really to take into performance.
I mean, because people know the Four Seasons and think it's been a massive success story, but it wasn't. It all sort of went wrong, didn't it?
That in itself is the success story.
Yeah.
The fact that there was a fractious time in the.
You love adding that word in.
That word is my word. It's,
I love your deep voice this morning.
Thank you. It is early, so I mean, I play Nick Massey, the bass player and bass singer, so kind of helps.
It helps that. Yeah. But it just all like with a lot of groups, the things just went wrong with the groups, and they just didn't like it. All just went horribly wrong.
I mean, these guys had to toil, to get where they were. There was no X Factor. There was no, reality TV shows. These guys, Frankie was training to be a barber at the time, and they were doing gigs, one-off gigs in their bars and clubs. So yeah, I mean, they worked really hard. Nick and, like we said before, Nick and Tommy were in and out of prison for over 10 years.
It took them about 10 years before Sherry was released. They were known as a cover band, with numerous different names, the Four Lovers and everything. So when they actually got Sherry, they were in their 30s. Well, some of us were at the time.
And of course, they had to keep the whole thing, the prison thing, secret because that got out, the band would be ruined.
Oh yeah.
It was all about the squeaky clean image.
Yeah, image,
just
and they
keeping
were.
it clean,
It
yeah,
was
absolutely.
the slicked hair.
That's
and
why
the
it
suits.
was kind of difficult to do our research on our respective characters because there wasn't that much coverage and information on this group back in the day because it was such a sordid underbelly to their history.
And what's it like touring with the Four of you? Because it must like being in a band like Westlife or something like that when
We
you're
always
you're
say it's like
always
being
just
like,
together and you're on stage
Life,
singing those songs.
imitating art,
Yeah.
imitating life.
Yeah.
We're so close to the way it really was for these guys.
We're on stage showing, a band of brothers on tour with their fallouts and all
So
the
you
different things
always
happening.
have to get on too, or
Yeah,
you
same
have your
thing as well.
arguments or you have whatever.
There's always an undercurrent with the show about family and where you've come from, and that's what we've all had to kind
Yeah,
of
we've
be
had
like
to discover it ourselves. haven't we? We've learned the hard way, so to speak.
Because all your resumes, I mean, you've all done so many shows. God, I was looking through it. There's lists. I mean, how does this show compare then?
For me, I think at
That's
the
the
top.
best.
Really, it's
Yeah.
got so much heart and soul with it. So, and you feel like at the end like a pop star. So I
Yeah.
think everyone would love to feel like that at the end.
And for me personally, it's like a play with music in it. I mean, what this is a brilliant story. I think that's the thing I take from it mostly. That this isn't a jukebox musical,
Yeah.
or a classic one. It's a great story with great direction, and it takes the audience on a journey they don't even think they're going to go on.
No, that's what I was struck by when I went to see it. The story is at the heart of it,
Yeah.
and just you get these amazing songs over, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And thank you all. You're on the board, gosh, for another week. Obviously, it's finished Saturday week, so good luck with it, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks. Now let's take the news.